Okay, so for this chapter, we're still looking at managing the marketing function. We'll be looking specifically at market research and market research processes. So the key concept in market research, it's all about this gathering information. With this information, the business owners or the marketers will make informed decisions about the marketing of the business. So any questions they have, who's our buyer, how much are they going to spend, all these questions gather this information and then you use that to your benefit. So if your target market are actually high income earners, well then maybe you could price your product or service a little bit higher, and it still won't fail because your target market are willing to pay that kind of money for or higher money for your products. So really, the idea behind market research is it's about reducing the risk of producing a failed product or service. That's producing and entering the market. It's obviously good at the start of a new business, but also existing businesses still constantly keep up with their market research in order to make sure that their product or service is actually going to sell always and now and into the future. So market research is the process of systematically collecting information, recording information, and then analyzing this information concerning a specific marketing problem. So more on marketing research. So it allows companies to assess the viability of a new product or service through techniques such as the surveys, big one, product testing, and focus groups. So it allows companies to discover who their target market is, what these consumers think about a product or service before it becomes available to the public, and obviously ones that are already available if they're redeveloping or changing some specs of a product or service, they could also easily undertake marketing research. So maybe conducted by the company itself, or there's also third-party marketing specialists who can do this service for you. Test subjects usually compensate with product samples or they're paid for their time. Okay, so the first step is determining information needs. So the problem is clearly and accurately stated to determine what needs to be measured and the issues involved. This is a crucial step. This needs to be done right, so you know what you're starting. Questions you're going to ask are going to be to your benefit, otherwise it's just a waste of time. And then you go out and you collect the data. So you can have primary or secondary sources, as we know what they are, but the second stage is going out and collecting data based on the problem that you found. At this stage, the researchers know the facts that are needed and those that are already available. Plans must be made to gather missing data. So this is where they can do information can be collected by mail, telephone, personal surveys, as well as personal observation or from private data sources. And then when they have all this information, the last thing they need to do is to analyze it and interpret what it means and how they're going to use it to benefit their marketing strategy from moving forward. So facts by themselves don't always provide a solution to the marketing problem. They need to be analyzed and interpreted to determine what they mean. So these are the kind of three main steps in marketing research and the process that any marketing research firm or company conducting market research will go through. So in step one, they talk about the marketing research problem. So don't be thrown with this weird problem. It's not exactly what you think when you think of an English problem, like a mistake. The research problem defines the mission and objectives behind conducting primary research. So this is kind of justifying, you're asking the questions you're going to ask and justifying why you're going to ask these questions and why this will benefit the company. So a comprehensive problem statement should include the problem definition, justification for the research, and the specification of information needs. So just still saying on the marketing research problem. So what is the problem definition? So what's the goal here? So this is really to answer the objective for doing the research. So the company is going to spend all this money on marketing research. So what are they actually doing it for? Like, what's the objective for doing this research? So for example, of a problem that they could come up with, just an example obviously. So Connors Credit Union would like to increase the number of customers who take out loans through the bank over the next year, but is unsure of what criteria people use to choose a lender. So this could be so basically it's a question, but again, the term we use is a problem. So it's a marketing problem. So this is what we're trying to do. This is the problem we're facing, and we're asking this question, and that's the answer we're looking for. So the goal here again is to answer the objectives for doing the research. So the next step in the marketing research problem, again, this is still step one. The goal here is to provide support for why research is an optimal path to problem solution. So why are we justifying the reasons for actually going ahead and going to conduct this marketing research. So for example, again, we're still using Connors Credit Union. Research is necessary in order to improve the client's understanding of what criteria influence bank selection. Since no current information is available, research will help Connors Credit Union avoid costly target marketing and communication mistakes. So this part is when you have a problem statement, and then you're justifying why you need to go down the market research path and actually get some primary data in order to help you answer your problem. So next step is to specify the informational needs you're going to be looking for. So the goal here is specify what variables will be the focus of research investigation. Now this does not specify what questions will be explored, but rather the variables you'll be looking at. So the questions that you could come up with will be related to the variables you're looking for. So the research will examine the decision-making criteria. So this is just an example. So research will examine the decision-making criteria customers used in selecting a loan institution, or general attitudes consumers have towards credit unions. So these are again just examples used in Connors Credit Union. So after we follow all them steps, we get a market research problem statement. So the first one again was Connors Credit Union would like to increase the number of customers who take out loans through the bank over the next year, but is unsure of what criteria people use to choose a lender. So this is our actual problem definition here. So this is what we're actually doing it for. What's the point? The next one is justification. So research is necessary in order to improve the client's understanding of what criteria influence bank selection. Since no current information is available, research will help Connors Credit Union avoid costly target marketing and communication mistakes. So these 2 points here will be our justification. And then at the end, the specification of the variables that we talked about. So we already know the research will examine 1, the decision-making criteria customers use in selecting a loan institution, and 2, the general attitudes customers have towards credit unions. So the next step, we've determined our problem, the information needs we have. So step 2, we have to go out and actually collect the information, which is what we call marketing data. This is the information, it's usually facts and figures relevant to the defined marketing problem. So in the last one we talked about Connors Credit Union, so the questions we went and asked the public, however we decide to get them, will be our marketing data. The research we find, information we collect will become our marketing data. So researchers use a combination of 2 types of data, so there's primary data and secondary data. So primary data, this is information collected from original sources for the purpose of the specific research problem. So you defined your problem, and then you actually go out and get information to solve it. The main advantage of primary data is that their collection is directed at solving a specific marketing problem. Their main function is to find out exactly what the customer is thinking. So the usual methods we're talking about: surveys, observations, so watching people's behaviors, their buying habits, how they walk around the store or where they go. And a lot of times looking at this observation and people's buying habits, some businesses might change the layout of the store based on where people go to first and where they go to last, based on if they actually observe. There are some ethics around watching people and watching people through security cameras that obviously comes to play, but again it can be useful through marketers. And the last one could be experimentation. So this could be simple, kind of a cause and effect. So will changing something affect people's behavior? So you could change the lighting, the music, little things to see if it has any effect on people's buying behaviors. Obviously there's more examples than that. I was just trying to give you one. So secondary data is a little bit different than primary data in the fact that the information that's been collected has been collected by somebody else and for a different purpose. Although it may be useful, the data isn't really specific to your research problem, so it's not directed primarily at your problem. So types of secondary data, like we have internal data. So this is information that which comes from internal sources, such as already in your own business. So financial statistics, management reports, research reports, customer feedback, and sales reports. So this could be information that you've gathered internally, which isn't necessarily for your problem that you've defined, but it could be useful in your report and your findings. And external data, which is published data from other sources outside the business. So the best known are numerous reports produced by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and also things like the census every few years that is done by the government. So the last step is after you've determined what information you're looking for, you've gone out and collect the information. then you have to analyze and interpret what the information is actually telling you and how you can use it to your benefit. So, as Carly Fiornia says, the goal is to transform data into information and then information into insight. So a good example here is a personal one you could use. So before you decide what to wear in the morning, you collect a varied data. So the season of the year, what the forecast says the weather is going to be like, which clothes are clean, which are dirty, and what you'll be doing during the day. So you analyze this data and you think, okay, perhaps it's summer, so it's usually warm. The analyst helps you determine the best course of action, and you base your decision of your interpretation on this information. So it's sort of the same thing. You look at all the statistics out there, you look at the information available to you, and then you interpret it, analyze it, and you make a decision based on the information you have. So that's obviously a simple point, but the concept and the strategy that's taken is roughly the same idea. Using the information available to you, or making informed decisions, and using it to help you make better decisions. Okay, so still staying in step 3, so once the data has been gathered, conclusions need to be drawn. So the raw data on its own is very little value to anybody until it's actually analyzed and interpreted. So statistical interpretation analysis, this is focused on data that represents your averages, your typicals, or your deviations from typical patterns. So on average, what are people doing? What are people thinking? What's the standard consent? And then if there's any differences between away from the average or away from the reasonable or typical. And this kind of information helps you guide your decisions as a business owner. And the reason we do all this is so we can present the relevant data, so the information can be used to make meaningful decisions. So we don't go through this process for no reason. We do it in order to make better informed decisions that will make sure a business is less likely to fail and obviously more likely to succeed, which will lead to all sorts of increased sales, profits, and everything we want in a business.